Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You are joined by your two usual hosts here. We've got Mr. Tom Mannering.
Hello.
You get a Mr. this week. Feel privileged.
Feel fancy.
And myself, Mr. Josh Hartley.
Oh, well, you got a Mr. as well. You've just taken the specialness
you got
out.
the Mr. too.
Okay, we can both be Misters.
Sure. I nearly called you guest JH1C because again you failed to fill out the little thing before you join the session properly.
I refuse to tell the computer what my name is. You know who I am. They don't deserve to know.
Wow. I feel how are you doing this week, Tom?
I'm okay. I am okay. It's been a busy week on a number of fronts. What have I done? I've done some really interesting hobby stuff actually. I have got a friend coming up this weekend, so I'm going to be actually playing some games in person, which is always
nice. Warhammer.
No, we're actually going to play some of my multitude of Marvel games.
There we go.
I have collected.
You do have a lot of Marvel games.
I do. I have 3 Marvel games that I collect: Champions, Legendary, and Crisis Protocol.
I was going to say 3 Marvel games doesn't sound like a lot, but there's a lot to them.
Yeah, they're not cheap either. They are a large sum of my expendable income goes onto those. So yeah, I've got a friend coming up to actually play those, which will be nice, and have a bit of a chill out. This week, I've played in a couple of games as well. I got to play in a Star Wars game, which was really good fun.
You talked about this a couple of weeks back. Yeah, how's that going?
It's going really well. We had our first combat, so it's the first big dice roll of the game. The first big combat kicks off. We get pretty standard stuff. We're on a space station.
Tom. We got this.
We get ambushed by a bunch of thugs essentially, and they're like, "Give us over this guy," and we're like, "No, you're not having him." We roll for initiative. The combat begins. The enemy goes first. The lead guy shoots my guy. Critical hit straight out the gate. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, how much damage is this going to be? And the GM's like, it's a critical hit with a blaster rifle. And I'm like, okay.
Cool.
And I'm just like, in my head, I just saw this character, I will remember you. It's like one and done. It took me down, took up the majority of my hit points off me, but we managed to survive it. And the rest of the game actually went really well. We had some cool combats, did a bit of investigating and things. We're currently looking for the daughter of this sort of, I suppose it's like an emissary type thing.
Right.
And
ambassador?
Kind of an ambassador.
Yeah.
And this criminal organisation are looking for her because she has information.
Right.
We found her, but then some bounty hunters have sort of cornered us. Okay. So we're going into another fight next session. We'd beat up some of the bounty hunters, and then the woman turned around and was like, sniper! And that was the end of the session. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably get shot and critical again. And then last night I played some Warhammer Fantasy roleplay, and we did a sort of so Colin, my GM for that, likes to do sort of film homages. So every so often you'll get fundamentally a reskinned film plot. So he's done things like Assault on Precinct 13. He's done a couple of other films. At one point he looks like he was going to do a homage to Crank, the Jason Statham film, but kind of bailed on that.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. But he was doing a homage of the Magnificent Seven? I think it is the Western.
Oh, cool. Which in itself is an homage to Seven Samurai.
Yeah, exactly right. So we were kind of
Homageception.
Yeah, so our party, funnily enough, of 7 people, have gone to this village, and they're like, we're being held up by bandits for all our money. So we had to defend this village, and a couple of people died as well. So it was a really combat heavy session, because it was basically kind of them besieging the town and us sort of fighting them off. So we started at 7 and we finished at about 11:30, and it was just one very long, very big combat.
Big old meat grinder.
Yeah. So that was good fun.
Do you remember in Warhammer Fantasy 5th edition they had a scenario based off Seven Samurai as well?
Did they? I don't remember.
So the idea was that one person fielded a standard army and the other person fielded an army, but they could only spend it on heroes and wizards.
Right, okay.
So it was the same number of points, but they just had all of these tooled up characters.
Is that... I think I might remember that. Did they start on like a hill or something? Was there like a central like location that they started that had to be like a hill or a building or something like that?
They recommended a bridge.
Yeah, I think I might have seen it.
Because that's I haven't. Ben's gonna kill me. I haven't actually seen Seven Samurai, but I believe there's a bridge to the village. Right?
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's actually a really cool idea. Like I love that. I love the idea of like a group of legendary characters sort of fending off against massive odds. I don't know if Warhammer's the best way to do it. I mean, at the moment, apparently.
Fifth edition was, because that was the edition that got nicknamed Hero Hammer.
Yeah, well, funnily enough,
yeah.
Will was at an Age of Sigmar event the weekend just gone, and he sent me some photos, and like the photos of the armies are basically just heroes and monsters, and I was like, where are the units? And he was like, this edition of Age of Sigmar is basically heroes and monsters.
I'm okay with this.
I'm kind of okay with it. I like a bit of unit presence, but monsters are cool. And heroes are kind of cool.
Well, here's the thing, Tom. How likely are you to go to an Age of Sigmar like organized play event, as opposed to like just playing against people at home?
Not that likely.
Then you can continue to field units all you want, and
it's true.
As long as the other person's on the same page, rule of cool and all that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely want to play some more Age of Sigmar. The games I've had, I've enjoyed a lot more than the previous games of Age of Sigmar, and I've got a couple of sort of potential armies for it now that I want to kind of field and paint up and things when time permits. Same with this edition of 40k as well. I've got the rulebooks for both, and I'm genuinely interested in both. It's that old adage, you've got the money to buy it, but you don't have the time to play it, or you don't have the money to buy it, but you have all the time in the world, but nothing to play.
Imagine having the money that we have now as actual adults when we were like students.
That'd be nice. Well, no, that'd be dangerous. Like if I was. I mean, I wouldn't have the job if I was a student, right? Because I would have lost that immediately for how long.
No, but okay. So imagine a scenario where you're a student.
Okay.
And your maintenance loan gives you the same amount of money you're getting for your salary.
Okay. I mean, I'm dead like week 3, pretty much.
Found in a gutter in Paisley.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I mean, it's a miracle I made it out of my student years as is, like with my limited funds and knowledge at that point in time. I think if you put me in it now, even with my sort of early 20s. Physicality, I just wouldn't survive it. I don't think. I think there's a reason why students are poor. I think it needs to be that way. It's a balancing act,
It's the natural order of things.
It's to ensure their survival.
Yeah. But like seriously, like I was thinking about this the other day. Like my first job I got after I graduated was like working in Fat Face, which is for those who aren't listening from the UK, and there's a few of you, so this is not a silly thing to say. Fat Face is a chain of like casual clothes stores. I think I was typically earning like £600 a month, and still somehow living off that, and somehow was able to go out as well.
I know, it's crazy. Like when I think about like the wages I've had historically, I mean, I was a bit like yourself. When I finished uni, I was working at McDonald's, and I stayed working at McDonald's, classy, and then went to work at Morrison's, just to really up my game. Yep. And I can't have been making like, I wasn't hitting like 4 digits a month.
Yeah.
No way. And yet I still made rent, and I still had money to eat, and certainly had money to drink. But at the same time, I was living with like 4 or 5 people as well.
Yeah.
And you were splitting all your bills and your rent with that, and you were, I don't know about you, but like my accommodation at that point in time, even with those people, wasn't great. It was a room really with a bed in it and a few bits.
Yeah, I had. Yeah, likewise. I was sharing with friends, and I was. We were in a flat above the Lanes, which Tom will know as he is a former native of Carlisle. But the Lanes is the shopping centre right in the centre of the city, and that was a great little flat. It was opposite McDonald's, so hangover breakfasts were like sorted out, and 2, we were like walking distance of pretty much everywhere in Carlisle. Yeah. So we could just go, when we went out, we could just stumble back home. We were also above a really good fish and chip shop as well. And Fat Face, where I worked, was also in the Lanes as well. So I could just like get up really late.
That's convenience right there. You pretty much... I'm surprised you moved. Why would you change that lifestyle?
Because I was only earning £600 a month. That's why. But yeah, I do kind of miss those days to some degree though, because Fat Face was really easygoing. You could get away working a full day hungover in that job. Can't do that nowadays.
No, you'd be out of a job very quickly. I think, not to get too sidetracked about us reminiscing about our youths, but I think, when you're younger, people always say, appreciate it while you've got it and all that, and you don't. Nobody does. And then you do look back and you're like, on the one hand, it was terrible, but on the other hand, there's a certain simplicity to that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. A little trip down memory lane to start us off. There we go.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, Josh?
What are we talking about? Essen's just happened. So I thought, I've been trawling the internet, because obviously we didn't go, just to try and catch some highlights. So I thought I'd share with you what I've found, Tom.
Okay.
And we can get your live reactions to these.
These always go well.
Yeah, they do. Hey, have faith in us. Come on, man. Right, well, we're going to start off with what was, without a doubt, the most anticipated game of the show.
Okay.
And that is Azul, the Queen's... not the Queen's Garden. Azul, Queen's Garden. This is, of course, the latest installment in the series of Azul games. And much like previous games, this is all centered around tile laying. So I will read out the blurb for you. So, welcome back to the Palace of Sintra. King Manuel I has commissioned the best garden designers of Portugal to construct the most extraordinary garden for his wife, Queen Maria of Aragon. In Azul, Queen's Garden, players are tasked with arranging a magnificent garden for the king's lovely wife by arranging beautiful plants, trees, and ornamental features. Using an innovative drafting mechanism, the signature of the Azul series, players must carefully select colourful tiles to decorate their garden. Only the most incredible garden designers would flourish and win the Queen's blessing. Why does that make you laugh so much? He's doing that silent laugh that I can just see his head shaking, but...
Sure.
That's your reaction to it. Sure.
I think I've said this before, right? Euro games are not my thing, so take my opinion with a pinch of salt, because it's not designed for me. The prospect of a game arranging tiles to make a magnificent garden is about as unappealing as a game can be for me.
Did you play Takenoko?
Which one's Takenoko?
That's the panda one.
Right. I have played that. I don't like the gameplay, but it's a lovely game. It looks nice. It's got a nice theme. I appreciate that as a game. It's not for me, But like, I love the aesthetic of it. I like the way it plays. There's just not much for me to do there. You know, I've mentioned this before. I need a bit more of a theme. I need a bit more of a narrative. Like, feeding a panda and making a habitat for a panda or making a magnificent garden is just a bit, it's fine.
So, like, building a garden, be it for a panda or a queen, is just not for you.
No, I mean, I don't like gardening, right? So you're immediately kind of ruling me out.
I'm with you on that front, to be fair, yeah.
I think I am aware of this series of games, and I know it's very popular, which speaks to the quality of it, right? So it's obviously a well-established game. It's got a lot of people that do enjoy it. This is clearly following on in the same trend, so I imagine if you do enjoy this type of game, this is going to be one that you'll enjoy, right? And I'm sure the fan reaction probably mirrors that. For me personally, not my cup of tea, but having a quick look at it, I mean, it looks beautiful. You know, the presentation's striking, a lot of nice colours, you know, it's very vibrant, really stands out, but it still kind of holds to the Azul aesthetic, which I am familiar with.
Yeah.
At least. So, in that regard, looks good. For me personally,
Yeah, and to be fair, like, so I brought this one up first because it is, like, the most anticipated game of the show, because it is Azul. But I'm with you on the basis of I'm not really excited about it. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like Azul. I really enjoyed playing it. I thought like it was really interesting gameplay, and as you say, presentation-wise and the tactile feel of the tiles as well, it's all like top quality, right? This kind of just looks like the same, but with hexagonal tiles rather than square tiles, which I don't know. They've introduced some new mechanics to it as well, to be fair, so it is a different game.
okay.
I just don't know if it's like so different that that it's worth getting excited for.
I want to just take this minute to say I don't hate all European games, and I don't only play Marvel branded games. I just want to get out ahead.
No,
of this
he plays Games Workshop games as well, and you play games set in the Forgotten Realms and other fantasy based.
I tend to like games with a fantasy aesthetic, so or a sci-fi aesthetic actually. Any kind of like, you know, fantasy, be it sci-fi or medieval or similar, because that just kind of draws me into the game before we even get to, you know, the actual mechanics and things. So things like Citadels and you know, games of that irk I enjoy and I get pulled into. And equally, there's been a number of games that we've played at conventions that I really enjoyed because they had an aesthetic that I could kind of lean into. I struggle to connect with games that have the kind of quirky or what I term as hippy-dippy, and I don't mean that in a derogatory term. It's just a bit flowery. It's not really quite where I live. It's not that I don't think they're good games. It's not that I don't think they're well made and deserving of praise. They just don't resonate with me. And Azul is one of those games. It's a bit like Suro as well. Like, I think Suro is beautiful. It is a stunning game to look at, and I appreciate when people are playing it. It looks stunning. Doesn't really excite me though, even though it does have a fancy element in it with, you know, dragons and things, but it just doesn't grab me. But it is a beautiful game. Just to get that out there. Disclaimer.
You are, and Ben and I on like in the past have both said that this whole argument is dumb anyway, but let's assume it's not dumb. You are firmly on the Ameritrash side of Ameritrash versus Euro.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. You
know? No, you know, you like what you like.
Exactly.
So, bearing that in mind about, you know, whimsy and all of that, the next game I picked out was a game called Living Forest.
Okay. I feel you've picked these out specifically to evoke a certain reaction.
I haven't. These are genuinely the ones that have caught my eye the most. So, in Living Forest, you play as a nature spirit who will try to save the forest and its sacred tree from the flames of Onibi. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong as well, but you are not alone in your mission. as the animal guardians have come together to lend a hand around the circle of spirits where you progress. Each turn, they bring you valuable elements, so try to combine your team of animal guardians as best as possible to carry out your actions. But be careful, because some are lonely and do not like to be mixed with others. So, mechanically, this game is is sort of a push your luck, like bag building game, and this is why it kind of appealed to me, because I really like Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is a similar sort of game, and aesthetically it looks gorgeous as well. So I don't know, have you looked it up yet?
Yep. So I would say definitely this one resonates with me a lot stronger. Just even at a casual glance, the artwork is lovely. It's got its own kind of style, which I really like. It's got like the little pop-up standees as well that give it kind of a bit of a 3D element, which is a nice touch. I don't know how it plays, and I don't know if the mechanics would be something I'd enjoy, but I think if you put this out in front of me, I'd be well up for a game of it. You know, I'd give this one a shot, because it looks appealing, it looks interesting, it looks like there's something going on. It reminds me a little bit, not necessarily, the art style's different, but something about the aesthetic reminds me a little bit of like King of Tokyo as well.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's got kind of the, not monsters, but animals that have that kind of nature to them, and it uses, again, a lot of very bright and eye-catching colours as well. But it looks really interesting.
Yeah, so that's that's one to watch out for as well. However, my personal favourite that I spotted is a game called Iron Forest. So I'm going to give Tom a moment to look this up.
A lot of forests in this episode.
Well, this is a very different type of forest. Now, you've played Ice Cool, haven't you?
Yes, like twice.
The penguin flipping game.
Yes.
Flicking game, which is amazing. This is from the same game designer. And guess what? He likes that mechanic. So,
okay.
In Iron Forest, it is a very similar type of game in that you've got the box forms a series of rooms that you flick giant robots through this time. However, there's a twist. There is a third dimension in that you construct like multiple stories of these rooms, and there's holes dropping down into the ones below.
Okay.
And to get your guy back to the top room, there's literally like a little catapult that you have to put your piece in and flick it up. And I was sold at that. I didn't need to hear anything further about the game. But I will read you the blurb. So, the game Iron Forest takes place in a fantastical land called Nemus. Several different clans called Nemus home, including Wolf Clan, Hedgehog Clan, Rabbit Clan, and the Owl Clan. This is all fluff.
Put a lot of effort into those names.
Yeah, Iron Forest is a flicking game. Flicking game is now a genre, Tom. A flicking game of 2 to 4 players split into 2 opposing teams, Animal Clans or Iron Force. Each scenario offers asymmetrical objectives that each side need to fulfill in order to win. Scenarios involve players trying to control certain areas of the game board, destroy opposing team mechas, collect certain objects, and much more. On their turns, players draw cards from their team's activation deck, then activate the mecha depicted on that card by either flicking it or launching it. Players also have access to a range of different power-up cards that will grant their side unique abilities, turning the tide in their favour. So, what I really liked about this, one, aesthetically, it looks great. 2, I really liked Ice Cool as it is. And this just, this to me just looks like that game turned up to 11 with, and I like the fact that they've sort of developed a bit of a story around it. Not that there was no narrative to Ice Cool, but there was a very minimal narrative to it. And we've got like the idea of these asymmetrical objectives and to each scenario, and you're kind of facing off against each other rather than just a bit of a free for all. So what are your thoughts on this, Tom?
Okay, so I'm going to give you my thoughts of it as a game, and then I'm going to go on to a mildly serious side of it.
Okay.
I think it looks really good. I think it looks really cool. I think the aesthetic's really nice, as you mentioned. I think it's a good way to go after Ice Cold as well. It's kind of a nice progression of the system.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, there's a limited amount of replayability to these kinds of games. Like, you're only going to get so much from it. Flicking things around, and it's a fast track to losing pieces as well. That's one thing that I'm always conscious of. But I think it looks really fun. I think if you're into this kind of game, or especially for a younger audience as well, this is a great game. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. It's a good family game. There's no, dense mechanics or anything like that. You can just kind of get into it and have some fun with it. So from that point of view, it's a good game. I think it's really, really positive battering. Personally, and this is an actual issue that I had with Ice Cool as well, because I have arthritis, flicking games do not work that well for me because my fingers start to hurt quite quickly. So from an accessibility point of view, they're not always the best games if you have any kind of hand issues or anything like that, or dexterity. They can be quite challenging in that, and that's fine. If you have that kind of thing, you're not going to buy into this kind of game for that exact reason. So that's one sort of barrier I do find with these kinds of games. You are quite limited. I could only play this for a little bit, and I'd probably have to stop before it might cause me a bit of discomfort. So that is my one kind of issue with the finger flicking genre of game. It also just reminds me too much of Subbuteo, and I really don't like Subbuteo.
What's wrong with Subbuteo? It's old and
It's not that it's old. It's just it was never a game that appealed to me. And I used to remember. I remember seeing all the adverts for it and people getting it and being really excited. And I'm like, you're flicking things around a board. It's not that exciting. But again, it's one of those ones. It's not for me. But if it's for you, batter him.
It is a very good point that you make. To be fair, accessibility is something that is really important in these games, and there's not an awful lot of ways around it, right? It's a dexterity-based games like this, or Rhino Hero and the like. They're not going to be accessible to everyone, depending on certain factors.
You're right. But I think there are concessions that can be made, and potentially there are tools that they could include that might help with something like that. Like a little handle that you can use to flick them, so you're not using your fingers. So you've got maybe your full mobility, or people that have limited reach as well. It'd be something like that. Because I imagine if you were, by way of example, if you were in a wheelchair or something like that, it's going to be difficult to perhaps reach this as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they should, but from an accessibility point of view, it would be nice if there was some sort of tool that you could use as well. It might also help little kids that don't have as much reach as well. So just if they hear this, bit of feedback for you, little flicking tool.
Look into a little device. Or like a snooker cue. You can have the spider one that has the little things you rest the proper cue on.
Like a croquet mallet as well.
Okay.
Like a little croquet mallet. You could use that and a little swing in. There you go.
Yeah. There we are.
Not just critiquing, problem solving.
There's some ideas for free for you. So here we go. The final one to talk about isn't strictly speaking an Essen game. This was a teaser that was revealed during Essen.
Okay.
And it looks like we are going to get a sequel to King of Tokyo and King of New York next year.
Ooh.
I'm just gonna
I accidentally teased it.
Yeah, so I mean that's basically it. They have the publishers Yellow have released basically it's a photo of a new monster in a in a sand pit with a volcano and some tropical trees and other tokens. I shall provide a link to a news article so that you can see for yourselves. It looks like a crab monster of some description. That's it. That's all I can tell you about it.
Is it a new game or is it a new edition, do you think?
I'm just reading over the it is all they have done is confirmed that the third King of game is planned for release at Essen Spiel 2022.
Okay.
So
well, that's promising.
This time next year, Rodney, we'll have more news on that.
Wait on tender hooks for that one.
No, but like I like both the King of games. So you know, and again, it'll. I know for a fact it's going to be physically appealing, visually appealing. So you know, and it's. I think they've confirmed Richard Garfield's back on for it as well. So you know, good game designer, doesn't hurt. Yeah.
No, that's good. I mean, I really like the King of Tokyo and King of New York games. I have one behind me, so I'm excited to see what they come out with. I think that's a good example of a game that is fairly easy to pick up, not too long to play. It adapts nicely to different player sizes as well. So it is a good Wii game to see.
It is one of my go-tos, like if I'm introducing people to gaming in general. I'd probably basically like grab Ticket to Ride and King of Tokyo and put them down and just go, which one do you want to do?
If you give people that choice and they choose Ticket to Ride, I would ask them to leave.
Ticket to Ride's a good game.
I'm not besmirching Ticket to Ride as a game. Again, not one that I particularly enjoy, but I understand the appeal of it. But if you offer me big monsters smashing up city or building a railway track,
some people want a more peaceful vibe. They just want a more chilled out theme to it. Well, this is it. This is perfect demonstration, isn't it, Tom? Like you were saying before, you want like a fantastical element to your game and something to draw you in that way. Whereas like other people might just want to go, yeah, you know what? I wanna build a railway empire.
That's fair. That is fair. Different strokes for different folks.
I mean, like the way my mind works, as soon as if you want me to play a game, give me a game that involves economics. Yeah. Basically, and I'm like all over that. Oh, the objective is to make money. Yes. let's do this.
Josh gets a semi for resource management.
I can neither confirm nor deny. No, how dare you, sir? I really like it though. It's great. It's good fun. So that was my personal sort of pick of Essen. Not having actually been to the show. Do you know what it's made me like think of though? Is I can't wait to get back to conventions, IRL. And just trawl through and play these new games myself.
It's really nice for us, I suppose, as theoretical board game podcasters, to actually see new releases. Like proper new releases with new games that people can, actually play together and are playing together at these events. Because we've had 18 months of borderline drought. Where, the releases have been really just sort of expansions for existing games
and Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah, and an actual new game, and rightly so. It wasn't a sensible time for smaller companies to be trying to launch a new product because one, people couldn't play it, and two, they couldn't demo it, so they couldn't build the excitement that things like Essen and UK Games Expo and Gen Con and things like that all help build this excitement and stuff. So it's really nice having had UK Games Expo wasn't as big with kind of as many releases as we saw, though we did see some. But Essen's always good for a good number of smaller indie titles, and little games like this that are a bit quirkier. Maybe not
Yeah.
up my street, but certainly are very popular with a lot of people. So it's
Yeah.
really positive. It's been really nice being able to actually discuss some new games.
I know, right? It's great. Next step, playing new games.
Baby steps.
Yeah. And I think on that note, dear listener, that is all we've got time for. So, as always, thank you very much for listening. And until next time, take care.
Bye.
Bye.